But at the same time, I get what they're saying. They kind of weed out the people who just want to party and drink and have relations with people. Hey, it's Lance McGowan here, and today I'm going to talk about why massive, open, online courses, or MOOCs, are the future of e-learning. Hey now, what's that all about? Well, you probably recognize the old classroom model, right? I mean, you wake up early to go to school, only to be lectured, randomly called upon, even though you didn't raise your hand, on top of being quizzed, tested, and assigned homework that you gotta, turn in the next day. Well, what's the outcome of all that? Well, if you follow the traditional model that's been used for, a really long time in the US since the industrialized revolution, well, the outcome is you learn how to memorize stuff for standardized testing. Standardized state testing, that is, with little to no real-world application. I mean, some of the main skills that we need as adults who pay taxes and are responsible are critical thinking skills. I mean, knowing the pros and cons of stuff as well as consequences and good, better, best scenarios is super important. Let me tell you, alright? Because things happen in life where you're going to need to know all that. On top of, we need to have problem-solving skills. Life is full of problems, and whenever there's people, there's always going to be problems. Let's keep it real. But it's important to understand what solutions and options we have that can create maybe more win-win situations, or maybe big win, small win, or sometimes there may be a win-lose, but at least knowing your options and really being able to think about that is key. Now, there's also some other skills that we need in the real world. How about conflict resolution skills, right? How do we work through disagreements and things that we don't like when people say stuff? That happens a lot, let me tell you. You can just look at my YouTube comment section on some of my other videos. That's a whole nother topic. Alright, anyways, how about natural wellness education? Learning about your alternatives with naturopathy, homeopathy, you got chiropractors, you got massage therapists, you got masseuse. You have all types of ways that you can learn how these disciplines and professionals with licenses and lots of schooling could help you as well in your own wellness journey. You also have financial education. How to, find out what's coming in the door, what's coming out, how to have an emergency fund, what about save for retirement, have a savings account. I mean, there's lots of financial education that we need, and these are all real-world practical experiences, and probably one of the most important ones, dare I say it, is how to have conversations with people without looking at your phone the whole time, like especially when you're eating out with people and other stuff, or, sometimes we take a lot of social media pictures as we're, in life. I think I was watching a story of a woman and a mom who was just like, she was going down a slide with her daughter, and she was like, hey, I'm not hating on her, I'm just saying, like, can you enjoy the moment a little bit? That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, maybe you don't have to film everything you do, especially because of the story and it's in and out, but I get it, it's good to capture the moment. So again, I'm not hating on her, I'm just saying it's nice when you can enjoy the moment and not always look at your phone and take a break from it, especially on vacation or something. I know Gary Vee talks about that a lot. He's like, he tries to take 7 weeks of vacation a year, and when he's on those vacations, he tries to look at his phone like 20% or less of the time. He actually has a percentage that he gives and assigns to that. So he's like, hey, and he also takes Saturday and Sundays off, even though he's a busy entrepreneur. And so those are some things I respect. But anyways, but what's really intriguing is during his TED Talk, Anant Agarwal of edX proposed a new classroom model of e-learning, and this is kind of exciting. Well, the process is fairly simple, but it's kind of innovative at the same time because it's different than the traditional learning model of in the classroom and lecture halls. So here's how it goes. Step one is you watch a class-related video in the comfort of your own home as a student, and that means, in your bedroom or in the living room or the kitchen or even in the bathroom, because sometimes, I'll be in the bathroom and I'll be watching videos that are educational. Anyway, step two is that that student comes into the classroom, right, for some in-person interaction where discussions and problem solving can occur on top of working with the professor to answer their questions. This is absolutely key because I know in the traditional classroom, yeah, there was maybe breakout sessions and times like that, but a lot of times if you collaborate with somebody, that's seen as cheating, especially on a test. But really, when you collaborate with people, it's just that, it's collaboration. And in the real world, that's really necessary to operate in groups and teams and really have systems and processes for doing stuff and then contingency plans and all that stuff. That's really important in business and life and really just everything. But you may be asking yourself, how did Anant's edX business model turn out? He's had hundreds of thousands of students enroll to edX, and the outcome is better engagement, more collaboration, better comprehension of the material, and lower retake rates. That means students didn't have to take the same class again because they failed it the first time. And a lot of times when I was in college, there was a lot of classes that were like weed out classes, as we called it, where basically they would test you to fail you, and it's just like, well, if you make it through it, that means you're serious about your education. And it's just like, no, I'm serious, I'm paying for this thing, or I got scholarships, so let's go, you know. But at the same time, I get what they're saying. They kind of weed out the people who just want to party and drink and have relations with people. But anyways, there's a time for fun and there's a time for like getting your education on. I believe in just, you know, making sure you get quality education that's relevant to what you're going to do after you get the education. Because if you spend all that money, you know what I'm saying, you want to make sure that it's spent in a good use of that, or at least leverages those skills that you learned. But here's the real benefit of what he was able to do. He used technology to basically be able to license a lot of this information and combine it with traditional education models for enhanced learning for students. And so it's kind of like a little bridge. It's like, hey, we're not going all digital, but you know, we can work in the digital side of things and really make it, because he gave the story of his daughter. Now I'm gonna have this link in the description below with regards to the TED Talk, but he gave a story of his daughter where she, you know, grunts and goes or silence whenever he's like, hey, dinner's ready. And I know my mom a lot when I was younger, she used to yell like, Lance, food is ready, come and get it. You know, I used to be like, what in the world is going on? Why is she yelling all the time? Why can't she just come and knock on my door and say, hey, dinner's ready? But anyways, that's a whole nother story too. But he just said like his daughter is younger and she would just grunt or be silent whenever asked a question. But when he texted her, she responded immediately. And he was like, whoa, this must be a glitch in the matrix or something. And basically she responded quicker via text. And maybe it was because it was use of technology. Maybe it was just a form of, you know, it's just we're moving towards digital stuff, and it's interesting, and it's being able to adapt to that, but then also work with people in their own communication styles. And I understand that, I get that, right? I mean, it used to be phone, now we're moving towards text, and before that, right, I mean, text is interesting because we used to maybe read stuff more like in newspapers and listen to stuff on radio, but now we're moving more towards text and social media, and even like podcasts and YouTube videos obviously combines video and voice. So there's lots of different digital ways that we get to absorb content, but it's interesting nonetheless that we're moving towards the digital, but there's still a place for the face-to-face. That's right. I prefer the face-to-face, but you know, it's not always practical. Well, in order to stay ahead of the curve, Anant says we have to move from lecture halls to e-classrooms, from books to tablets, and from brick and mortar buildings to digital dormitories. That doesn't mean we get rid of all the physical spaces, but that just means we move more towards the digital, because that's really the direction that a lot of this educational system is going with regards to the level and quality that can be achieved, really. And the outcome and results that he's seeing really affirms that. And you know, there's lots of e-learning courses that you can take to help you learn about business, health, relationships, technology, and you know, even like Microsoft Office and PowerPoint and Word and Excel and so many topics and things. I mean, especially on YouTube, or I've even, you know, learned a lot on Lynda, which I'll have a link in the description below as well. That's another website that's really great. With regards to what Anant does, edX offers an interactive learning style with peers, with self-pacing, and instant feedback to facilitate the learning process better with his students. And those are really elements that I feel help to really improve the learning process. I know when I was in college, I had a cohort that I went through with in my honors program, and basically we did a lot of case studies from Harvard where we would study businesses that did well, we'd study businesses that didn't do well, but that was in all different types of topics. So our HR professor would have Harvard business case studies that we'd go through, and our operations teacher would have Harvard business case studies we'd go through, and our finance teacher would have Harvard business case studies we'd go through, and marketing as well, and our marketing professor would have Harvard business case, so a lot of business case studies. Why is that? Because these are real world examples that have either done really well with these businesses or they didn't do well, and it was up to us to really look at the facts of what happened and propose a recommendation based on the problems that occurred and really understand all of the situations that happened, and the professors would really test us on our solutions and what we came up with to see if it would, because they had really the outcome of that. So these case studies a lot of times were leaving information out, and then when we were able to propose our solution, they actually filled in all the gaps, and then that would determine if our solution was really a good one or if it was way off, and that would affect our score and everything like that. And so that's real life. You don't always have all the information, you don't always have accurate information, and it's really up, there could be a lot of misinterpretation too of the information. And so I believe that was a really good way to learn information, and we got to work in groups and really like work outside of the classroom and come back. And so we were ahead of the curve in the sense that there was a lot of group interaction and collaboration that I really appreciated. But there's also another e-learning YouTube channel, and that's another great way to learn about topics that interest you, and I included more information about that YouTube channel as well as some other learning opportunities in my link in the description below, so you can continue to get your learn on in different ways. And whether it's you want to gain different skills, or you're just curious, or maybe sometimes you want to combine the educational and entertainment side of things, which I try to do on my YouTube channel, you have lots of options. And whether you're a student for life or you have a child and they're a student themselves, I think it's just opening our minds up to different learning styles and ways that we can incorporate that hopefully in our lives, even if it's just watching a YouTube video. But if there's a practical application for these and you find a good fit for you in your own life, that is even better. Well, that concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button if you did, hit subscribe for future video updates, and most importantly, check out the links in the description below so you can continue to get your learn on, and I'll see you in the next video.